Okay, so good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are, or maybe even good evening, because I know we have some people from across the pond with us on this webinar as well. So my name is Richard Oceguera, and I am a personal and professional development coach. I work with clients on a private basis, as well as doing webinars and workshops and speaking. And really what I'm up to is to empower you, to empower people to really tap into their inner powerhouse, your inner powerhouse. And I provide tools and resources and techniques that help you to really tap into who you are at your core, for you to be connected to your higher power, so that in the pursuit of building your business, whatever that business is, you can do that more consciously, more mindfully, more easefully, more powerfully. That's really what I'm all about. So this conversation today is about all of that. And if you're here, this means that there's something in what I shared in the invitations that call to you. Some of you received emails from me. Some of you heard me speak about this personally to you or in a group. Some of you saw stuff on Facebook. However you ended up here, it's not by accident that you chose to carve out some time this morning to hang out. So I would like to start by inviting everyone to take a moment right now, and I'm going to actually just move into sharing my screen. I invite you to take a moment, and if you are in a place that is conducive to closing your eyes, and if you're not operating heavy machinery or standing at the edge of a cliff, literally or metaphorically, or driving a car, I invite you to go ahead and take a moment to close your eyes. If you are driving or in a place where that doesn't feel comfortable, then not a problem. Do it with your eyes open. But so just invite you to go ahead and take a nice deep breath in and let that out. And another even deeper breath in and let that out. And one more nice breath in and let that out. I invite you right now to let go of all of the concerns of the day that you already have, the busyness, the thinking, the worrying, the doing, all of the stuff that's already happened or that didn't happen. And I also invite you to let go of everything else that is going to happen after this webinar, or that you would rather be doing now or think you should be doing instead. All that to-do list, the kids, the partner, the husband, the dog, the cat, the whatever, let all of that go. And I invite you to be here now, in this moment. You've carved out some time for yourself. I like to call it me time. And so I invite you to honor that by allowing yourself to just be present here now. I also invite you to let go of everything that you think you already know about connecting with other people, about networking, about sales. I'd like to invite you to also let go of the fears, doubts, worries, and preconceived notions that you already have about who you think you are, and whether you're not good at these things or you're already good at these things. Let all of that go and come into this place of I don't know, which is a very powerful place to operate from, so that you can soak in whatever I have to say and think of it like you're going shopping for a new outfit. What I'm going to share with you today, I invite you to just try it on. Try it on like you would a dress or a pair of pants, right? They might look good on the rack, but until you get them on your body, you're not quite sure if it's going to fit, if it fits for you. Or maybe it will fit, but you have to alter it a little. I invite you to play with this conversation like that. And it'll help you to get more out of this experience. So with an open mind and an open heart, and with now open eyes, if they're not already, we're going to go ahead and get started with Interconnect. So for those of you who are looking online, you can see that I have slides, and I will be referencing these. And for those of you who are listening in on the phone, I will do my best to let you know what we're looking at, but you will see the slides in the recording of this session, so you can go back and reference this. And I highly recommend that you do go back and watch the recording even when you're here live, because I promise you're going to hear things that you didn't hear the first time around. It's just the way that the brain works. We only can process so much information. So I do have a ton of stuff to get through. It was really exciting for me to put this together. This is not my first time doing this conversation, so I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought, oh, I have this webinar, like it's ready to go. I'll just pull it out off the shelf and we'll do that. And what happened is it didn't happen quite that way. As I got to hear the concerns, the worries of people who wanted to get some support around being more confident, becoming a confident connector, I realized that while the core of what I had to share is solid, I needed to fine-tune this to actually really meet the needs of you all who are here. So it gave me an opportunity to add some more depth and breadth and some more of the consciousness and mindfulness that I really am focused on these days to this conversation. So while I have done a similar version of this, you all are hearing really this for the first time, and I'm excited to be able to share this new version of Interconnect with you. So we're going to jump into this conversation. All right, so I'm going to start by saying that I believe, and it's actually been discussed by some pretty important people, that 99% of networking is a waste of time. Yep, so here's this guy who's a specialist in networking and teaching people how to connect, and I truly believe that 99% of networking is a waste of time. I got this information from Harvard Business Journal, that quote actually, from Harvard Business Journal, and a gentleman named Richard Strombach, who is a very, very high-profile person and who writes about human connection. And the reason why it's a waste of time, my version of why 99% of networking is a waste of time, is because of the way that people go into the process of networking. So we are going to talk about networking here, but I'm going to be taking it to a very different level. Okay, so I want to just give you a little warning about that. All of what we'll talk about today is in service of you becoming a better connector, of being able to be better at following up with people and being more fearless when it comes to this process. So the reason why I think it's a waste of time is because people don't go into networking prepared. They haven't done the inner work. They haven't done the personal development work. They haven't done the professional development work. And they don't have a plan. They just show up, hope it goes well, smile on their face, maybe, or a look of terror on their face if you were how I used to be about it. And there's no plan for following up, and it's basically just a process of kind of getting through the event. So why would you spend time getting to any social event, any networking event where your intention is to meet prospective and develop relationships for prospective clients? Why would you do that if you're not prepared? And the sad thing is most people are just, that's how they show up, because no one's really ever trained in how to network, right? I used to run a chamber of commerce. I was the co-founder and the president of New York City's first ever LGBT chamber of commerce. It's called the National the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce of New York, NGLCC, and had the honor of bringing it into existence at the height of the recession. I'll talk a little bit about that more later. And we turned it into a highly profitable and thriving organization at what would have been considered the worst time ever in recent history to start a business organization. And the reason that we were able to do it is because we had a vision and a mission, but we really made sure that we were teaching people how to network. But mostly people show up to networking events, right? Just kind of handing out business cards. So we're going to talk a little bit about what kind of networker are you? Are you what I call the business card pusher? So this might be someone who's more confident. Maybe they're an extrovert. They have no problem walking right up to someone and starting a conversation. But it's sort of like, hi, how are you? Here's my card. Buy my stuff. Like immediately they're in your face about buying their stuff or having a meeting with them, and there's no relationship building there, right? And personally, I won't take a business card from someone who's like that because I didn't ask for their card and I don't know them. And I'm going to end up throwing it away anyways at where I'm at with building relationships. So there's plenty of people like that out there. You've probably encountered them, and hopefully you're not one of them. And if you are, after this conversation, you won't be. Or maybe you're the business card collector. So on the screen here, I have a picture of a pile of business cards. These are actually business cards from a real person who had just gone to an event. And I'm not saying that he's the business card collector, but I like the picture. A lot of people go to networking events and they ask people for business cards. They have conversations. And then you go home and you take that pile of cards and you put it on your desk, and then you never follow up. You don't follow up for possible many reasons. One, you might be afraid to now pick up the phone or to send that follow-up email. You may just not be organized or have a plan for how to follow up, or some combination of that. But for a lot of people, they don't do the follow-up because they're terrified of what comes next. The actual having a private conversation where the possibility of being rejected exists. Or maybe you're the wallflower, and this was definitely me. I would go to an event and I would do everything I could to not be seen, to not be physically seen. I would hide out near where maybe the food is, or be off in the corner pretending to look at the artwork on the wall. And it was terrifying for me to be in a room of people, especially around those more extroverted, there's seemingly more confident people who were in conversations, who were in their little cliques of people. I was terrified because I didn't want them to reject me. I didn't want them to turn me away, and I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to start the conversation, and even if I did, I had no intention of ever following up because I was, again, terrified that they just wouldn't like me. So what it boils down to for a lot of people when it comes to networking, and let me also clarify, when I talk about networking, I'm not just talking about it from the point of going to a business event, like a Chamber of Commerce event. That's one way, right? But it could be a one-on-one conversation with someone, and a one-on-one business conversation. Also going to a social event with friends or family, or some kind of organization that you might belong to, that like a meetup or something, right? Anytime that you are in the presence of another person, or I like to say where two or more are present, you have the opportunity to network. And what I know after 30 years plus of being in sales, business development, marketing, public relations, and being a trainer of many, 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 many people throughout this time, as well as my own experience of personal development training, business development training, transformation training, spiritual training, all of this experience, one thing I can tell you for sure is the most common issue that people have when it comes to networking and connecting is fear of rejection. Do you like me? Yes or no? That fear of rejection will take over and keep someone from showing up who they really are, as that powerful being, as that powerful expression of the universe that we all are in our core, and it's how we're born. But as we get conditioned through life, for some of us, and this isn't everyone, right? But for some of us, we learn that we're not good enough, we're not worthy, and we start to believe that, even though it is not the truth, we believe it, and it drives this underlying fear of rejection. And fear of rejection actually lives in the reptilian part of the brain, which is the most ancient part of our brain. And it's where you have that fight or flight reaction to things that come towards you. So the fear literally is very ancient and deep rooted. And it also, which is also a whole different conversation, and science is proving this more and more now, our emotions actually get imprinted into us in the moon, well, the moon, that's another conversation. The moon has a lot to do with our emotions, but in the womb is what I was trying to get to, and transferred from our mother, and even beyond that, ancestral transference at a DNA level and at a spiritual level of the blueprint of who we are. And fear of rejection while we can learn it for the first time in this life, often gets passed through without our even having anything to do with it. And so it's a real thing that exists at a very deep, ancient part of our brain that, if not attended to, will drive the show. And I assert that for some of you that are here, you're here because this is one of your underlying fears. When you registered for this event, I asked you to choose, you had to answer a question. And one of them was fear of rejection, or not knowing what to say to people at an event, worried that you're going to look stupid or that people are not going to want to buy what you have. And it all boils down to the same underlying fear of rejection at some level. So let's take a moment now to look at what are your limiting beliefs. We all have them. You know, I certainly am not exempt. Limiting beliefs, again, start usually at a very young age, and they're formed through the experiences that we have with family, the conversations that we're having, that were happening in our environment as we were growing up, before we could even speak or even be conscious of the conversations. All of that external chatter, including from when you were in the womb, imprints and starts to form these belief systems. So if you have a notebook, I had invited you to have a notebook, so you might want to jot down the answer to this. What are your limiting beliefs? For some people, it's that they're not good, or they think they're not good at speaking in front of groups or at public speaking. The terror of that's actually one of the top biggest fears that people have, even more than death, is the fear of speaking in public. That used to be me as well. That people don't like me. They're going to reject me. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to seem pushy or something else. So take a moment now and just jot down whatever limiting belief comes to you first. And I invite you to be really honest with yourself. No one's going to see this except for you. So take a moment and jot that down. And if you can't write right now, then at least bring it to mind. So I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, so we're going to move on from there. Now, I invite you to consider what's the impact that limiting belief or beliefs, because if you're really honest, you have more than one, what's the impact that's having on your business and therefore your life, right? Could it be that you're not making enough connections? You're not meeting enough new people to be able to share your product or service with? Are you not following up with new contacts? Now, I know for a fact there's some people who registered for this webinar who've told me, Richard, I'm really good at networking. I'm great at going into a room and people come to me naturally, but I'm terrified to talk to them afterwards. I'm terrified to follow up and pick up the phone and have that one-on-one conversation. It's still about fear of rejection, right? So is the impact that you're stressing out because you're not meeting the clients, you're not making enough connections, so therefore you're not making enough money, which will lead to stress, worry, frustration. I have personally experienced that, and I know for a fact, I saw everyone's registrations, and I know many of you personally, I know that there are these stressful, worrisome, sitting up in bed, frustrated, what am I going to do? I need more clients. But the very thing that you need to do, especially for service, for some of you who are service-based businesses, when you have a product or service where you are the chief salesperson, you need to get out and talk to more people. And your inability or unwillingness to do the work to be able to have the freedom around that, to actually be okay with being rejected or hearing no, is keeping you, it's stifling you from moving forward. Okay, so little fact, 50% of US adults identify as shy or introverted. And this comes from an article from Psychology Today. And that's a lot of people. So I talk about this not because this is about are you shy or introverted specifically. I know there's people in this webinar who are not shy or introverted. They're extroverted and very confident on the exterior. But I invite you, whatever camp you fall into, to get this statistic around your head, because this is actually a key Two, networking. So if you walk into an event, statistically, and this is for North America, right? I don't know the exact numbers for Europe, and I say that because we have some people from Europe who are on this webinar. But in general, half the room that you walk into would consider themselves shy or introverted. This means that for multiple reasons, they inherently would rather poke their eyes out than be at that networking event. They'd rather not talk to you. They'd rather be at home eating ice cream, safe and comfy on their couch. And that's exactly how I used to be. And if you are one of those people, and you do need to network to build your business, then keep listening to this conversation. If you're not one of those people, and you are the more confident or more extroverted person, half of the room, you could be their hero by simply making an effort to find those people, to seek those people out. And they're easy to find because they're off to the sides. They're probably not standing in groups. Those are the people that you can go and connect with, make them feel at ease, invite them into conversation, and build a relationship with. So you can use this two different ways. Either you want to get the tools to overcome a limitation. And being an introvert, by the way, is not a limitation. It is an awesome thing. I'm an introvert, proud of it. It just means that we don't need to be around a lot of people to get energy. I'm actually a weird introvert because I get energy from speaking in front of large groups of people. But for the most part, I'm really happy being alone. Introverts are not less powerful. They're not less of anything. It's just a way of processing information differently, okay? So shyness, however, is learned. No baby is born shy. Shyness or inhibition or self-consciousness, and I don't mean consciousness, higher consciousness, but being self-conscious, afraid of people seeing you and being seen, right? Those are learned behaviors, and those can be undone. You can create a different way of being, and we're going to talk about that as well. So we're talking about shyness and introversion. So I'm going to tell you really quickly that I was always that kid at school who, you know, the game of dodgeball, right? And I hear that kids still play it. I think it should be illegal because it'll just mess you up for the rest of your life. If you were like me, I was the kid who would get chosen last on the team. Without a doubt, every time I was the one no one wanted on their team because I wasn't good at sports. My brother was excellent at sports. All my cousins were excellent. I sucked. I played the clarinet. I was the smart one. I wasn't, not that you can't be smart and be good at sports, right? But I wasn't the stereotypical sport kind of guy. And so kids are mean. And so they preyed on that, and they teased me and taunted me and bullied me for lots of reasons beyond just not being good at sports. And I learned at a really young age to believe that people didn't like me, that groups were unsafe, that people were going to hurt me literally, as they did every time they threw that dang red dodgeball at my head. I would always be the first one to get hit in the head, right? I learned and started to believe about myself some very negative things. It was the genesis of some limiting beliefs that got rooted very deeply in my consciousness, right? And I invite you to think about yourself, because we all have a version of these stories. It's not unique to me. Your limiting beliefs got started somewhere. So those limiting beliefs formed how I interacted with the world. It kept me hesitant. It kept me from getting involved with large groups because I was terrified that I would be rejected, right? But coincidentally, I grew up in a family there are many entrepreneurs, business people, sales experts. My mother is an amazing saleswoman. I've learned so much from her ability to just persist and with a smile walk up to people, engage them, invite them to. She actually is the business development director at the Hemet San Jacinto Valley Chamber of Commerce. We have some people here today who are from that chamber. Hello. My mother, her job is to go around the Hemet and San Jacinto and surrounding cities there in that valley and invite them to join this chamber. And she does it day after day, tirelessly. Well, she does get tired, but she does it and does it and does it until she is exhausted, and she never takes no for an answer, it's always, great, when can I follow up with you again? And growing up around this, it was natural for me to fall into the world of sales. But there was an issue. I had become shy, and I'm also an introvert. And that is a terrible recipe for being great at sales. Now, I was really good one-on-one. If you were standing in front of me, I used to work in the cosmetics industry, if you came to my counter, you'd walk away with hundreds of dollars of product, probably much of it you didn't really go there for, but we would have such a great conversation that would help you so intently that you would be so happy to buy a bunch of new products and keep them and use them, because I would make sure that you knew how to do that. But if you put me into a big situation where I had to go out and cultivate clients and network, forget it. It was never going to happen. I was terrified of that. And what did happen is, as I got older, my inability and unwillingness, although I didn't know it as unwillingness quite yet, but my inability to network, to create connections at a greater level, on a wider level, was keeping me broke. Because along my career path, I got into the world of advertising and public relations, and that was my ticket to moving to New York City. And living in New York had always been a dream of mine ever since I was a little kid. And so here I am in 1998, moving to New York City, the Big Apple. And if you're online, you can see a picture of me. I'm actually standing on top of a building in the Flatiron District on about 22nd Street. And you can see the Twin Towers in the background there with a beautiful sunset. And I really felt like I was on top of the world when I moved there. But New York City is no joke, people. 8 million plus just in the New York City area, and then many, many, many more millions surrounding there, right? Fast pace. Life does not stop for you there. It will run you over. Massive amounts of energy and creativity. And if you can't keep up, you will just get trampled. And it doesn't matter, because there's thousands of people right behind you who are waiting and willing to take your spot, to work harder than you, to move faster than you, to be smarter than you, to be more creative than you. And so I come into this environment, nice little Richard, having just lived 5 years in the very nice Midwest in Chicago, which was a big change from growing up in LA. But the difference between Chicago and New York is night and day energetically. And so I had to pick up the pace, right? And the nature of my career path led me to getting into a different kind of sales, where in fact I did have to make a choice. I had to learn how to get over my fears, doubts, worries, and preconceived notions that I had about other people and that I thought they had about me, because it was keeping me from being able to make the amount of money I needed to make to just survive in New York City. And it all boiled down to this one night when I went to a gala. A friend of mine, Dirk McCall, who is very, very, very well connected in New York, and then when I first met him, and even more so now, he's the kind of guy that walks into a room and everybody and their mother knows him. And I asked him one day, hey, Dirk, how do you do this? And he would always be punching stuff. We had Palm Pilots back then. We didn't have iPhones, right? You had a Palm Pilot. And he would always be meeting people and then putting stuff into his Palm Pilot and looking up people's names and then talking and making notes. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? What is this about? He's like, Richard, this is networking. You need to learn how to network and meet more people and keep track of who they are. And it's like, oh, that sounds awful to me. So he said, well, if you really want to get good at networking, Richard, go to a gala. And I thought, okay, I can do that. A gala, that sounds fun. I had never really been to a gala. That sounded fancy. So, of course, I find the most expensive gala possible. It's just the way I walk into a store and I'll like the one thing that costs the most in the store. That's just kind of how it goes, right? Some of you here probably can relate. So I pick a gala, and the ticket was $500. Now, I didn't have $500 to just spend on some gala ticket, but I figured out how to make it work, because, when something is valuable to you and you see some hope or some opportunity, you figure it out, right? So I figured that out, and the night of the gala came. I got all dressed up in my best outfit, and it's at the Sheraton Hotel in New York City and in Midtown Manhattan, which is a huge property, and it's the biggest ballroom in the city. And I heard that there was going to be 1,000 people at this event, which makes me hot just thinking about that, right? 1,000 people in one room. Here I am, this shy, introverted, like terrified that you're going to reject me guy, right? So I walk into the lobby of the hotel, and I notice that people are streaming in from different entrances in the hotel. It's a big place, right? So there's more than one front door. And there's men dressed up in their suits, looking very confident, and women clearly all done up because they're coming to this gala. And as I notice these people around me, those old limiting beliefs, you're not good enough, these people hate you, they're going to reject you, you're not wealthy enough, you're stupid, you're not worthy to be here, what did you do, Richard, why are you here? All of those thoughts funneled through my mind. And as I tried to walk through the lobby, it was like with each step I took, I was walking through quicksand. I felt like molasses, actually, to the point where I literally had a breakdown in the middle of the lobby at the Sheraton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan where I could not move. My mind took over so intensely, I was paralyzed right there, in my cute little suit. And it all boiled down to this moment. I had a choice. I could figure out how to get my butt up into that ballroom, or I could hightail it out those revolving doors and go home and get my ice cream. If you haven't noticed, I like ice cream. And sit on my couch and be safe, because that's the habit and that's the behavior that was comfortable for me. So there were two voices that I started to hear. There was all of that negative chatter. You're not good enough. People don't like you. They're going to reject you. You're stupid. Why are you here? You have nothing of value. Blah, all of that, right? There was another voice. Thank God. I had already started working with a coach. I had been getting sales training. I had been working on myself to some degree. Not at all to the degree that it came after, but enough where I heard the voice of one of my trainers saying, Richard, if you are just willing to be bigger than your fears, doubts, and worries, you can do anything. That little voice was peeking through the crack. And it all came down to that moment where I had that choice. Go up and figure this out and face that fear, or go home and have more of that same broke Richard. So I raised my head up high, put my shoulders back, went up into that ballroom, and there's 1,000 people there. And all that panic came back in, and all those thoughts and limiting beliefs popped up again. But I knew that I didn't have to meet 1,000 people. I just needed to meet a couple of people. And that night, that's what happened. I had enough courage in that moment to get me through the evening, and I got to make some new friends that night who became the very first people in my professional network, finally. And from there, it snowballed. And so the turning point for me was coming to that place of literally choosing to, I didn't have to choose to face that fear. And at that event, everything changed. Now, it didn't make me great at networking. In fact, I was awful. And I was awful for a long time at making connections and then developing those relationships. But I made a choice to get good at it and to do the work that it takes to overcome that fear, to create a new mindset, to get the tools and the knowledge and the wisdom from other people who had it so that I could do what I was here to do. And I know we're talking about making connections and having sales and making money, but it's bigger than that, people. It's bigger than that for you. It's bigger than that for me. It's what is the impact that you're here on this earth to make? Why are you here? What is the real difference that you're out to make? I know that some of you are here, well, all of you are here with different products and services that you sell or different companies that you represent. Whether it's a financial service product, or it's a doTERRA essential oil, or it's a video production, or makeup and cosmetics, or whatever it is, people need you. They need the relief, they need the help, they need the support of that thing that you have to sell, but you come attached with it. You are part of that. And that healing that comes from that personal, caring touch, that heart-centered touch in the transference of money for a product or a service, that's huge. And that's what I'm encouraging to look at networking from that point of view. Not just about more connections and more money. Yes, that is important. But what are you going to do with those connections? And what are you going to do with that money when you have it? So your bills are paid, everything's good. Now what? What's the difference you're going to make? That's why we need to make more money, people. Not just because it sounds good. It's about making an impact in the world, right? All right. And on that note, so what I learned is people are the conduit of money. Energy, money is energy. Money is nothing but energy, and energy is a sacred. Is sacred. It's the law of the universe. It's how everything works. Everything is energy. Every single thing around you, including you, is an expression of a form of energy. And what I've learned is that money, as energy, moves through people. It moves from hand to hand, right? Physically, electronically. People are the conduit of money. And if this is true, people, then it behooves you to get comfortable with people, because people are the conduit of the money that you want to make. And the more people that you can connect with, and I'm not saying the more people that are, not everyone's going to buy from you that you connect with, but the more people that you do connect with, which can lead to other opportunities, the more money you're able to make, and that bigger impact you're able to make. And it can be a more easy and not stressful process if you go about it the right way. So, are you a confident connector? Would you like to be a confident connector? We're going to move into what that looks like now. So, Buddha said, what you think, you become. What you think, you become. And your thoughts are seeds. All of those limiting beliefs that I've already talked about, that I've shared with you mine, I don't know what yours are. I know what you answered when you registered, but I don't know what you wrote down as your limiting beliefs, but you have them, right? Every time you allow that belief to surface, and the more energy that you give it, it's like you're watering that tree. At this point, the limiting beliefs are beyond a little seed that are in the soil of your mind. They're full-blown trees, people. So every time you entertain that, you're adding fertilizer and water to that tree. And that big, giant tree, a limiting belief, is something that you actually don't want there. It's blocking your view of who you really are and the impact that you can be making in the world. So if thoughts are seeds, right, and the mind is the fertile ground for those seeds, and we know scientifically that we have the ability to create new thoughts and to plant new seeds, which lead to new beliefs, then let's learn about how to do that, right? Because the crop that you keep watering is just going to get bigger. And I'm going to show you a couple of things right now that are going to help with doing that, to help you get on the path to planting new seeds that will empower you and give you more confidence and clarity and the ability to operate from a place of empowerment versus disempowerment. Would you like that? I'm going to imagine you're all saying yes. So just a quick bit of science. For those of you that are looking online with me, I have a beautiful image of your brain, the inside of your brain at the neuron level. And so imagine your brain like a superhighway. It's a conduit of energy and a network of information highways, basically. And in between your neurons are these tubes that are called neural pathways. And all of the energy, all of the information, which is energy, literally electricity, flying through your brain is connected, is passing through these neural pathways, moving from neuron to neuron. Your thoughts, those limiting beliefs, as well as all the good beliefs that you have, and everything that happens in your mind and in your body is all funneling through this information highway. So every time you have a new experience or a new thought, what happens is and this happens at the chemical level. It's amazing. And there's so much science around this. We don't have time to go into this right now at a deeper level, but I'll tell you later about how you can learn more about this with me. Every time you have a new belief or a new thought, it creates a new neural pathway. And the more that you repeat that thought and that pattern, that neural pathway gets stronger and stronger. And the way it boils down is the limiting beliefs that you have are existing neural pathways that have they've had a lot of traffic. They're really worn in. They are strong roads. And that's why they'll fire immediately without you even thinking about it. That you walk into the room and your heart starts racing and you have the thought, these people hate me. These people are not going to like me. These people are going to reject me. That's an automatic belief that's running through your neural pathway system. It's just entrenched. Your brain isn't out to get you. No, your brain isn't trying to harm you. It's just what you've taught it, or it's been taught over time. It's what it knows to do, okay? The good news is the brain has the ability to create new neural pathways. You have the ability to plant yourself new neural pathways through the power of thinking, through the power of your words. And that's what I'm going to teach you next. So, what are the two most powerful words in the English language? I believe the two most powerful words are I am. I am. Because everything that comes after those two words is a declaration, is an affirmation of who you are being in the world. I am tired. I am frustrated. I am so mad, right? Well, if you say so, and so it is. When you say, I am happy, I am joyful, I am confident, I am magnetic, right? If you say so, so it is. When you say these words and follow it with a state of being, your brain says, okay, great. And if you're finding yourself moving more often into those negative states of being, it's because that's just what you've already got planted in those neural pathways we were just talking about. If you want to move out of that fear of rejection and into that place of confidence, it's about retraining. It's actually training newly your brain with the ways of being, the states of being that you want to embody instead. So I told you the story about how I used to be really terrified about networking, right? And speaking in front of people, because those other limiting beliefs were what were running the show. But what I started to do was train my brain with a different way of being. And in the beginning, it didn't feel right because it's not how I really felt yet. But I planted those seeds and I watered those seeds to the point where it became who I am. So when I tell people that I used to be shy or that I'm an introvert, many people say, what? That's not really, Richard. No, you love talking to people. Yeah, great. But the way that I show up now, confident, charismatic, clear, those were not ways that I embodied before. Those are not ways that were the default way of being for me. I trained myself, not acting. I retrained my brain to go to a different place so that I can operate from a place of empowerment. And now, more often than not, that's where I come from versus those old limiting beliefs. And you can do it too. Anyone can do this. So here's the keys to this kingdom that I've been promising I'm going to share with you. So mind mastery is what I call the process of training your brain to become a powerful, empowered person. And it starts with asking yourself the question, who are you willing to be in order to produce extraordinary results? Who are you willing to be? Who am I willing to be in order to produce extraordinary results? When you ask yourself that question and then follow it with, I am in a positive state of being, you are taking the power. You are asserting for yourself the way of being and who you want to be and show up as in the world. At that networking event, at that class that you're teaching, at that important business meeting, across the table from a new customer or a prospect. When you take the time, and it takes a split second, to choose a different way of being, you alter that brain chemistry, you alter those neural pathways, you disrupt the old, and you are planting a seed and adding water to that new crop. So who am I willing to be in order to produce extraordinary results? I am abundant. I am enthusiastic. I am generous. If you're online, you can see that I have a list of just a small list of positive states of being. Those of you listening in on the phone, I invite you to think about positive states of being that you see other people who you think are good at connecting. How are they? Are they confident? Are they courageous? Are they curious? Are they dynamic? Are they empathetic, vibrant, magnetic, loving? Those states of being are completely within your realm of creation. And the truth is, at our very core, who you really are is love, is joy, is happiness, is confidence, is perfection. That is who we are inside. And all of this other nonsense that comes up as we go through life is a lie. It is not true. And so when you train your mind and you focus inwardly to go back to who you really are, you start to show up very differently in the world, and that draws people to you magnetically. That starts to give you that confidence to be able to pick up the phone and make those follow-up calls. That gives you the confidence to walk into a room and to know that it's not about whether they're going to reject you or not. You're coming from the place of what do you have to offer, what do you have to give, and what do you have to receive from those people that are there in your presence, right? So the key number one is creating your mindset. The second valuable tool is the power of creating an intention, of being intentional about who you are and what you're doing and what you want from going to a networking event, going to a social occasion, going into a class that you're teaching, going into a one-on-one conversation with a prospect or a client. Whatever the scenario is, what's your intention? Do you know, I know because I do this for a living, and I've been to so many networking events. I've talked to so many people. I actually wrote a book about this called Convert Your Community to Cash, Monetize Your Connections. It's like the Bible of networking. It's what I've learned over those 30 years, distilled into about 100 pages. I know from talking to so many people that most people, almost everyone, walks into a networking event with no intention. Maybe the intention is to get through it, and maybe they thought like, oh, I need to get a sale. I need to get a customer out of this. So I guess, yes, that's an intention on some level, but without really having thought about what you want. What is it that you want to get out of being at that event? What is it that you want to give or receive from being at that event? And did you write it down? Writing down your intention, like writing down your goals, has statistically been proven to increase the odds exponentially of that thing actually happening. And can you visualize what that intention and what the outcome is going to look like? If you do this work ahead of walking into an event or a meeting, and it doesn't have to take a long time. You can do it in just a few seconds. But to have the intention to be thoughtful, to be mindful about what you want, and be specific. Write it down. I love Post-it notes for this. Write it down. I like to tuck it into my jacket or put it into my wallet once I've written it down. Take a moment to visualize it, right? And then release it, let it go, and then go into that event. I promise you that just by that action alone, there's going to be an air about you that people will notice. There's that's something about you that's different because you've actually created an air of confidence for yourself. That intentionality is attractive. It's magnetic. And this one key alone can dramatically change your success at creating connections and building relationships and having sales ultimately. So be intentional. So I really believe that the art of human connection is an inside job. I think you're starting to get that from me. And what I mean by inside is it's the internal, it's the way that you're thinking, it's the mindset, it's the heart set, it's your internal state of being more than any cool networking tip and trick that I can give you. And there's lots of other networking tips and tricks out there. This internal work is what makes the difference between you being confident and really being connected with people, and you versus going into an event and just trying to get as many business cards as you can in hopes that you're going to get a sale or convince someone to work with you. It's an inside job, and it's an ongoing process of mindfulness. So the third tip, very important, is paying attention. Most people don't listen. They are waiting their turn to speak. How many conversations have you been in where the other person, you can tell they're not listening, you're speaking, you're passionately sharing something, and they're looking at their watch. These days, they're looking at their phones, they're looking off out there, they're not making eye contact with you, and as soon as you stop speaking, they blurt in with whatever they have to say, but really they hadn't been listening to you. They were just formulating what their response was going to be to you. And if you're honest, you've been that person too. I know I have. It's a practice to pay attention. So listening is really, really key. And listening isn't just with these things here, your ears. Listening is a much deeper process. It's a learned, I call it conscious listening. It's a practice that you can learn that does take practice. And it involves listening with your ears, as you know, listening with your eyes, making eye contact with your mind, with your undivided attention, listening with your heart. Your heart is a listening tool. And what's really cool, in Chinese, the character for to listen is called ting, and it's comprised of several different smaller characters all coming together to make the one character to listen. It is comprised of your ears, your eyes, your mind, your heart, and you, all brought together to make the one word listen. It's a really powerful metaphor. And so if you do nothing other than this one thing, when you go into a networking or a conversation with someone, a situation, if you really practice fully listening with all of you, it will make a huge difference. You will create a space for people to be heard. You will create a high level of rapport and trust and likability that is going to make them unconsciously feel comfortable with you and want to continue those conversations. This is so huge. I can't underestimate this enough. So, little recap. We just covered 3 seemingly easy things to do, but let me tell you, I have spent more than 30 years practicing these things, and there's deeper levels to these as well. But with what I shared with you so far, if you declare your mindset, so this is just a quick recap, declare your mindset, state your intention before you go into a networking or sales conversation, and make a commitment to paying attention. Be that great conscious listener. It's more than just active listening. It's deeper. I call it conscious listening. If you can do these 3 things, your results in making connections will go through the roof. Your own level of confidence will go through the roof. And you will see that your network widens and that you have more ease and confidence at making connections, following up with people, and inviting people to do business with you, right? And making that difference in their lives with that product or service that you have to sell. So, great. Now what? Now what? Well, I'm really excited to share with you something that I know can make a huge difference for you, to take everything that we just talked about very quickly to a much deeper level. And it's an exciting program that I have that's called Be Connected. It's your mindful roadmap to making more connections and making more money easefully. I love this word, easefully. It's not a word I normally use, but it struck me. And so rather than with ease, easefully, it's a state of having peace and grace about how you do something. Wouldn't you like to make more connections and make more money easefully? It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be, a chore. It can be easeful. And what this program is going to do is show you how to do that. There'll be a little recap of what I shared with you here at a much deeper level and lots of new information that we didn't have time to get into here. And it's a 4-week group coaching journey. It's a journey that takes place starting October 13th and goes through November 3rd. And it will take place in the evenings. And Be Connected is going to do this. This is what Be Connected is really about. It's going to show you how. There we go. Be Connected will show you how to connect to yourself and others consciously, mindfully. It's going to show you how to ditch limiting beliefs so you can attract new prospects confidently. I talk a little bit about the limiting beliefs here. We're going to go into much more detail, especially around how to use mind mastery, because there's some other levels to it that can even bolster the results from mind mastery technique. I'm going to show you how to grow your business ecosystem. What's an ecosystem? Well, that's what I call your network. It's a living, breathing, growing entity that you nurture and cultivate. So you're going to learn how to move from just business cards, flat, two-dimensional, these people you met at an event, to actually seeing them as an ecosystem that you're the leader of, and how that ecosystem can feed you financially and you feed it as a leader, and how to do that magnetically. I'm going to show you how to share your product or service authentically so you don't feel gross and icky when you're talking to people about what you do and then asking them to buy it. And that's so common with people, right? It doesn't have to be that way, folks. I'm going to show you how to ask questions that lead to sales organically. What would it be like if you're having a sales conversation And before you say, oh, and here's this thing I want you to buy, they actually say, wow, how do I get started? That can happen. It happens to me quite a bit. And it all has to do with who you are being, how you are being when you are in a relationship building and sales conversation. I'm going to show you how to convert prospects into happy clients. There's the word again, easily. Because we want our clients to be happy, right? So basically with Be Connected, you're going to learn how to make more connections, expand your network, and close more sales without selling your soul. And I know for a lot of you, that is a big deal. This is a mindful approach to connection and sales. So the roadmap to making more connections and making more money easily. Remember, I believe that the art of human connection is an inside job. So this program is going to teach you how to do that inside work. So in the first module, we're going to talk about the mindset of a conscious connector. I have a lot more to say about how to create a powerful conscious mindset. Module 2, we're going to start the discussion on what I call the 4 points of connection. The first 2 being your body and your mind. You're not just connecting with your words, people. There are things happening in your body, using your breath powerfully, using the power of your mind intentionally. I'm going to show you how to do that and do it in a way that keeps you grounded and centered and has you stay present so you're out of your head and into the heart. Speaking of, in Module 3, the 4 points of connection, Part 2, we are going to talk about how to connect to spirit, how to connect to your higher power, whatever you call it, whether it's God, Jesus, Buddha, great source, great divine source, the universe. Really doesn't matter how you relate to your higher power. I speak all those languages, folks. I'm going to show you how to connect to your higher power powerfully and have that is your internal powerhouse, people. When you're operating from spirit, how could you be rejected? It's not rejection anymore. It's you just being of service. And ultimately, the heart. We talked a little bit about it here. I referenced it, but there's a lot more to say in how to operate from a heartful place in having conversations and sales with people. So I love talking about this stuff. Module 4 is now moving out of that inside job. You have these tools, you have these resources. How do you put it out there into the world? Building your business ecosystem. So I'm going to give you at least 10 different ways to build a huge network. I went from having no professional network to becoming known in New York City as one of the most connected people, so much so that I wrote a book about it. That's why I was asked to start that Chamber of Commerce, not because I'm a nice guy or not even because they thought I was smart, but because they knew I had the skills and the ability to take something from nothing and turn it into a thriving organization through networking. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do as well. So this will impact your business. This will impact your social network. This will impact your business network. All of this is also going to impact how you relate to the people in your life, your friends, your family, your husband, your kids. It's all the same skills, people. So, okay. So imagine for a moment right now, what will be possible for you when you are being connected? What will be possible for you when you're being connected? Imagine having the command of body, mind, spirit, heart, of having command of creating a powerful mindset, of using intentionality, of being fearless and confident and coming from a place of the heart. What will be possible for you when that's who you actually start operating as? One of my clients, Elizabeth Decker, she's an amazing soul. She was a private client of mine and also has done a version of Be Connected, although this is an even better version, but she did a version of this program. And she said, Richard's business advice over the last 6 months has literally elevated the way in which I show up in a room. My language has changed, my message is clear, my confidence is strong, and I know what I'm doing. I'm building a business that I'm proud of, and I'm able to reach more people so I can be their instrument of change. She's an amazing artist, and she also happens to be a lifestyle coach. And I've watched great transformations for her happen through working together with me. So how does the nuts and bolts of Be Connected? I've shared about what it can provide for you, what the results are, but the nuts and bolts. It'll be 4 60-minute live webinar sessions. So over the course of 4 weeks, 4 one-hour sessions that involve Q&A time. So you'll have an opportunity to connect with me and get your questions answered on the material that I'm sharing with you. You'll also get action steps at the end of each module so that you can hone your skills in between our sessions, because it is a practice. It's not just listening and that sounded great, Richard. It's actually put it into action so that you can develop the muscle, develop the skill. You're going to get audio recordings of each of these webinar sessions. And you're going to also get access to a really powerful resource, which will be our secret Be Connected Facebook community page, so that you can ask questions, share the wins that you're having, or even the breakdowns that you might have along the way, and network with each other. So that's what comes with the program. You're also going to get some bonuses. Everyone who registers is going to get a private 30-minute coaching call with me. That's a pretty valuable thing. It's worth $250. You're going to get a digital copy of Convert Your Community to Cash, Monetize Your Connections. Again, this is like the blueprint for being awesome at networking. And some of what we will be talking about in the program comes from here. And what we don't cover, you'll have right at your disposal. You're also going to get access to a webinar recording that I've made called Mind Mastery. Making Money is All in Your Head, where I go into extreme depth at the Mind Mastery tool and how you can use it to really powerfully and quickly build up that powerful, empowered mindset. Another client of mine, Carrie Sender, the day I registered for Richard's program, I had more potential clients contact me to inquire about working together than I had the 3 months before. 100% true story. And in only 2 months, I made more money than I had the entire year before. Totally true story. I saw the numbers. She had a 152% increase in her net earnings. Carrie is a great story in that she had a dream of having her New York City practice expand to Hawaii. She wanted to be global. And that's what she came to me. She worked with me on a private basis, as well as being in a version of Be Connected. And that was my challenge. Richard, I want to go global. I don't want to diminish what I'm doing in New York. And I don't know how to do this. I don't have a network in Hawaii, which is where she wanted to have her second location. And so that was the job. And that's what we did. Carrie now operates from both Hawaii and New York City, going back and forth as she wishes. She has clients all around the world, and she has really become such a powerful presence, a powerful connector, and it's awesome to see how she has really flourished. And if that's of interest to you, that's kind of the same kind of stuff that can start happening for you when you do this kind of work. So what does this cost, Richard? Well, normally this program costs $497, and I have sold it for $497. My own business coach would like me to sell it to you for $497. But what I've decided, because I'm really, really clear that I want to help as many people as possible get into this practice, I'm offering it to you for only $127. It's a huge, huge difference in pricing. And actually, the $127 is only for the people who are here live or who watch this replay before midnight tonight. So the $127 price expires tonight at midnight. Thereafter, starting at 12:01 tonight, $147 is the early bird, and then it jumps to $197 for Be Connected. So how do you register? So we are going to, I'm going to pop in on the chat room the link. For those of you that are online, you can go to the registration page, and I'm putting this in now, and then I will say it out loud for everyone else who's listening in. So I just put into the chat room, which you can find on your screen there, the Be Connected webinar page. It's on Eventbrite. So there's two ways you can find the event to register. Go to eventbrite.com, and let me move to that page, eventbrite.com, and search Be Connected, and you will find the event there. Or go to the URL, and the URL is bit.ly, so B as in boy, it.ly/Be Connected Now. And the B and the C and the N and Be Connected Now are all capitalized for that link to work. So you go to bit.ly, bit.ly/Be Connected Now, and you can register there. So I love people who take action. I love people who know that something is for them. If you have any sense of like, oh my God, I really want to do this, but I'm scared, or if your stomach is turning a little bit, I invite you to see that as an indication that this is for you. I know for me, that's always an indication that, this is something, it's like, something's moving around in there. You know, I invite you to face that fear if that's how it's manifesting for you, and to jump in. If you know that you want to be that powerful connector, that person who walks into the room and people smile at, that people want to talk to, where you have that easeful approach to connecting and following up and having conversations, I invite you to jump in and just do this with me and allow me to share the wisdom and the knowledge and more than 30 years of experience that I have to help you be powerful, because that is what I want to do for you. So the first 7 people who register are going to get 2 additional bonuses. The first 7 people, you're going to get invited to an additional 30-minute group kickoff call with me. It's a private call. It's a community group kickoff call for this program. It'll happen before we start on October 13th. And so you'll be in a smaller group of people where you have me for half an hour to ask questions, and I'm going to give you some tools to make the most out of doing well in this program. And I'm also going to be sharing with everybody, or give everyone who registers, the first 7 people who register, you're going to get an extra little gift from me, which is essential oils. We mentioned, for those of you who are on early before we got started, we talked a little bit about essential oils. So you're going to get this intro kit of lavender, lemon, and peppermint. This is like liquid gold in a bottle. And these are tremendous tools for creating clarity, opening up the respiratory system, calming down your nervous systems, all kinds of ways you can use these. These are just a little extra token that I'm going to throw in. But the value of that kickoff call is huge, and I can't underestimate what a difference it will make for you. So the first 7 people who register will get those additional bonuses. So, and I know that we've gone past 10 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap this up very quickly here for you. Thank you for those of you who are still here. Peter Siegelman, another one of my clients from New York City, he said he worked with me privately and also has gone through these programs with me as well, and still refers people to me because of the results that he got from working with me. Richard delivers on his promise to help people clarify their business path, become a confident connector, and to grow their business network and realize untapped potential within. In the last 2 months, I've landed 2 hot sales listings, a rental, and a new buyer, and more deals are on the way. He does real estate. My business is booming, and I made the right choice in hiring Richard Oceguera as my personal business coach. And Peter continues to get amazing results from what he learned and what he put into practice. Not just what he learned, it's what he put into practice that he took away and actually uses on a daily basis to grow his business. So again, it's only $127 for Interconnect attendees. If you're watching the replay later on, then everyone has until midnight tonight Pacific time to register and get the lower price, the lowest price of $127. After tonight at midnight, it goes to $147, which is still a great deal, and then to $197 on October 8th. All of those prices are much lower than the normal $497 that I charged for this program. Just looking at a couple. Oh yeah, actually, all of these sessions will be recorded. So if you want to participate, but you can't be on them live, you can watch the recordings. And I have plenty of people who do that, and they still get a lot of value out of the experience. Absolutely, and you still have access to that Facebook group where you can still connect in real time with everybody. And actually, Rebecca, thank you very much for catching something. Yes. I will adjust the pricing. Yeah, today is October 1st, people. I see here it says until tonight at midnight. Yes, the pricing will be good until tonight at midnight. Thank you for catching that, Rebecca. So awesome. Misty Hatch, I see that you had to get off here, but you're in. Awesome. Very, very cool. Okay, so I already told you how to register. Go to Eventbrite or bit.ly/BeConnectedNow. And I'm going to just end with this, peeps. What are you willing to do to become a consciously confident connector? I've given you just in this conversation 3 really valuable tools: creating the mindset, being intentional, and And also, and now I just forgot the third one that I just shared with you. It'll go back to me in a moment. But I've given you some very powerful tools. That's right, Richard. Some very powerful tools to be powerful in how you connect with people. So I want to invite you to now take the next step, which is thinking about what are you willing to do to become a consciously confident connector. Because it's going to take some practice. It's going to take work. It's one thing to listen to a webinar and make some notes and get some ideas or some ahas from that, but it's another thing to actually do the work. And I invite you to get involved with Be Connected so I can hold your hand through that process. But whatever you choose, with what I shared with you today, you have some very valuable nuggets to take forth and to start putting into practice. So I invite you to do that. And just take a moment right now, going back to the question I asked you earlier. Imagine what will become possible for you. What will become possible for you when you become a confident connector? What will that make possible in your life? More confidence, more freedom, more clients, more customers, more money, more ability to do things in the world without money, making a bigger impact. I invite you to just leave this conversation in that space, thinking about the great impact that you're going to make in the world because of your commitment to being a consciously confident connector. And so I really want to thank you for being here and spending some time with me this morning. Thank you for those of you who helped me spread the word about this webinar. Thank you for doing that. And once again, I invite you to be connected. Have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Listen to the replay after this gets posted. You will get an email from me shortly with the replay as soon as it becomes available. Also with the instructions on how to register for Be Connected. And I hope to see you soon. And for those of you that are registering, I look forward to speaking with you very soon and getting our private coaching calls set up and getting this kicked off on October 13th. Okay? So have a great rest of your day. You guys rock. Goodbye and be connected. See you.